Summer Camp Island is one of my favorite shows I've seen in quite a while. It's a story about a magical summer camp where the camp counselors are witches, and the campers slowly gain and realize magical powers. Like, we get campers that are vampires and werewolves, but most of the stuff on the island is magic too. Like, one of the funniest characters in the whole show is the protagonist Oscar's pajama top, who talks and has a face, named Pajamas. Or is it Pajamas?
Pajamas!
You could maybe think of the show as Adventure Time meets Camp Lazlo. There's a lot of funny, laid-back comedic episodes about life at camp, but the show also foreshadows a more complex narrative and plot as the show progresses. Similar to shows like Adventure Time, Steven Universe, and a lot of popular cartoons at the moment, it also has a style and sense of comedy similar to Adventure Time, I'd say. Non-human characters like marshmallows, the moon, and the trees are living creatures, and they often say funny things in a really cute way.
Oh my gosh, hi.
In this video, I talk about the series with my friend Critnick, so if you're concerned about spoilers, take this as a warning, but at the same time, I think you can watch this video and still watch the show after if you really desired to. And I don't think your experience would be hampered by watching this first. The show is special because of its emotions and characters, and we talk about some other silly things in this call, like my adventures with Superman.
There's 10 episodes out. Like, just shut up about it.
So yeah, without further ado, we're gonna jump into the call now. I'll start by quickly introducing my pal Critnick. He's the creator of a group called Dinger City, a group of friends that hold tournaments and streams for my favorite video game ever, Mario Superstar Baseball for the Nintendo GameCube. So yeah, give him a follow if you want to find out more about that. Him and all his friends are super funny and talented, so you won't regret it. Before I even get into the show, can I at least introduce you, Mr. Critnick, creator of Dinger City, my favorite Mario Baseball group of my favorite game ever, Mario Baseball, Mario Superstar Baseball for the Nintendo GameCube. Is there anything you'd like to say, or before we start? Sorry for being such a chaotic host.
No, that's quite all right. Hi, everybody. I'm Critnick. I'm all those things that Colby just said. And I'm really excited to be here. I love talking about cartoons to a pretty ridiculous degree sometimes. And I haven't done it on YouTube in a long time since I was on Cartoon Universe for like 4 videos like 3 years ago. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Those were the Infinity Train days back when that was coming out.
Yeah.
Those were some times.
Have you ever heard of a show called Galaxy Express 999? It's like a really old anime that I think like is kind of where Infinity Train got like the concept from, and like I really love both, so it was like really cool to see where I was like, guys, this is like Galaxy Express 999. I love it. And they're like, what the hell is that?
Everyone's like, no one knows what you're talking about, dude. That's cool. No, I've never heard of it.
I feel like any show that we will talk about, if we ever talk about the shows or just during this call, will be like, what production issues has it been screwed by? And like Infinity Train is kind of something like that. Summer Camp Island is something like that too, like from what I
have some very strong feelings about how Summer Camp Island has been given to us over the years.
I think I'm really privileged for forgetting about it, because given the production of the show and just like reading posts and going back on archives, it's like people are like, is that all we're getting? Or they're like, even reading the creator Julia Potts like Twitter and stuff, or deleted posts where it's just like, well, season 6 is done, but will it ever come out? We don't know. And it's just like, I can't think of a more awful feeling than actually coming through and creating and finishing a show and then just like being like, well, is it ever going to go on air? I don't know. So there's a lot, I think, to talk about. But if we're talking really back at the beginning of the show, if we're going to like season 1, I would say, watching it all the end of this summer, fittingly for Summer Camp Island, I would say I was pretty blown away by like the first season. Like if I had to rate the first season out of 10, I'd probably give it like a 9.5. Like I'd probably give like the first season like a 9.5. I think the thing that stood out to me the most was just how funny the dialogue is.
Everyone has to pitch in on the island chores. Even this cute potato. Just kidding. I always manage to cheat my way out of it.
Susie.
Oh no. But I can't do a chore. I'm too cute of a potato.
Like there's a lot of just little subtle things in between every character talking. Like they always have little follow-ups or little subtle things or just little weird kind of idiosyncrasies when they talk, and like it just really was kind of the best show I've seen in a really long time. And the dialogue, I think, was a big part of that.
Absolutely. The writing was always struck me as really smart, and something that I think really brought that to life, because you can have smart writing, but then, it's just smart writing. The performances from everybody on that voice cast. And you know what? I don't know most of their names because most of them are children. They all of the
and
I
British
believe
children on top of that.
Seriously, I believe all of the kids in the show, all the campers, are actually played by children. And at the time the show was first recording, they were all young. They were all very young, and you can see as the show goes on, their voices mature a little bit, even though the show is supposed to take place only over like a summer.
Yeah, she's definitely gonna cheat. She always cheats. But we'll just play fair and show her that she can't cheat her way out of that chore. Who's with me? I'm sure it's different for everybody, but usually when I'm feeling some emotions coming, I sit down, I get in my pajamas, halfway there, and I let those feelings run their course. Sometimes I'm crying, but then sometimes I'm suddenly laughing.
But I mean, that's the consequence of your show being in production for 6 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's so odd, like considering how quickly the show kind of came out. It's almost crazy because it's had its fair share of production woes and whatnot, but it's like it started in 2018. It's 5 years later and it's had 6 seasons. Like that's a lot of that's a lot of episodes. There's a lot of good in that too, and it's like if you look at when the episodes came out, it's like every 6 months. It was like 13 episodes every 6 months, basically, like 15 episodes every 6 months. And
which in my opinion, in my opinion, that's just for like growing a show, that's a disaster. Because you say, okay, here's a whole season or whatever. We're not going to tell you about it. If you want to watch it, you'd better see it the one day we're going to air it on Cartoon Network. And then we're just going to move it to HBO Max and not talk about it again. And then we're going to move it off of HBO Max.
Yeah.
Which was originally intended to be its home anyway, but then Max had gotten delayed coming out. What a wreck. Season 1 drives me so crazy because it was so good. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the only time it aired on Cartoon Network, at least for its premiere, the entire first season, all 20 episodes, or season 1A, aired in one day. It was one Saturday. It started at like 9 a.m. and it went until it was done.
So I think like even on top of that, whether it's to your point, I think it's to your point though, in a way, they aired it twice in a row for like 48 hours.
Okay.
Like the whole weekend was just like on loop, start to end, which like I feel like if I was a creator of a show, I would like that. I'd be like, oh cool, my show's on all weekend. But I feel like if people at the same time could be like, what the hell is this? But I think Cartoon Network kind of already does that a lot. I mean, like people make memes all the time of like, oh, the scheduling block 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day is Teen Titans Go. So I don't think people ever really have much actual criticism of playing shows a lot in a row like that. But I would say this is one of the most unique shows in terms of how the seasons are laid out. I don't think I've ever watched a show where an entire season of a show is just dedicated to the backstory of just different characters, like I think it was season 3. It's like we got 5 episodes for like with the Yetis, who are definitely like my favorite characters. Like, I don't know, there's something about them every time they're on screen. It just brings a smile to my face when you just hear instruments every time they talk. They're definitely my favorites.
I love you too.
Yeah, I think the especially that season was very unique, and it really gave us time because every time that was, listen, we're spoiling Summer Camp Island in this this video, so that's just
if anyone's watching this like without watching it, that's on them. I mean,
take it on our word. It's a great show. It's really worth it.
Watch it and watch this at the same time, and
But that season that really, because I think right before that, the reveal comes out that all of those specific kids were brought to the island because they are magic in one way or another. So then that season kind of goes into each of their thing. Like you said, they had the Yeti section where one of the characters was part Yeti. And since she was living in the real world being everywhere that's not Summer Camp Island, she didn't know. But then whatever, the witches scouted all the magic people around and said, hey, come to this island. And then each of the little mini arcs in that were just exploring each like camper's whole like magical side now and be like, yeah, this is why they're here kind of thing. And I found that really neat. And it was a risk because it's, the thing is, it wasn't airing on Cartoon Network. It wasn't airing on primetime TV. So you can get away with more serialization without any risk because nobody's just going to jump into a random season 3 episode of this show if it's just on Max. So, and you can really see that from season 1. Season 1 is very much so episodic. Like you don't need to see any of the other episodes to really understand what's going on. Of course, there's going to be a little context here and there, but you can still just be in on it. But yeah, you could definitely see where the approach shifted, kind of. And then after season 3, the show stayed relatively serialized, I would say.
I generally agree that the season 1A was like where the show was at its best. I do really like that they kind of kept going with this narrative plot, and I think in a way that makes me appreciate the first season more, because I thought it was really cool that they would like introduce all these elements but not really tell you too much about them. Like, why is there a Yeti? Why is there like these 2 ghost dads? Like all these things, and it's like, oh, why is there a person just in the mirror of this house? So it's like, I really like how they set up the mystery of it. And I think I reached out to you and I was like, the show's so good. And you're like, it gets crazy. Just like keep watching. Like it gets crazy. Everyone online, like everything I read about the show, everyone says like, oh, it felt rushed. And I always think saying something's rushed is like weird in a way, because like I just think it's like, I'm like, how do you know it was rushed? Like I feel like a lot of and like it probably was given the production of everything, but like I don't know. I don't always feel like feeling an ending is not satisfying means it's rushed. I always feel like when people online say something's rushed, that means they just don't like it. But I will say, I think it's cool what they did with Susie and her backstory and stuff, because I think she's by far the most interesting character in the show. I mean, I think she's very unique. I don't think we have a lot of characters like her, especially in like animated media. Like, like she's very flawed, very grouchy and stuff. And I like her backstory. I think a lot of people think that they would have liked if her backstory had a little less to do with her sister Melinda. Just because like the whole time. Mildred. Oh my god.
Take it from
Melinda's the one. Melinda's the one in the mirror, right?
No, that's Ramona.
Then who's Melinda?
I don't know, Colby. I think you just made that up.
Oh my god.
I have no idea.
I'm keeping that in. I don't care anymore. I think a lot of people thought that they would have liked it more if Ramona was a little more involved in the ending instead of Melinda, where I feel like people were like, Melinda just got introduced and now she's like the focal point of the show.
Why are you still saying Melinda? It's Mildred.
Why is her name Mildred? I'm just kidding. Okay. you know what I mean. Do you like Mildred? Do you like how Mildred is treated? Like what are your thoughts on Mildred? Not Melinda, not Ramona, on Mildred. In terms of how she was introduced, how the show concluded with her. What are your thoughts, may I ask, on Mildred?
I really, really like Mildred. She was very intriguing from the second she was introduced. It was because we didn't really know everything about Susie and how old she was until they started slowly rolling that stuff out. And then
Mhm.
it was like, oh, Susie has a sister, and oh, Susie's immortal and was alive in wherever she grew up. England, question mark. The UK, let's just go with the UK. In the, gosh, 1700s maybe it
Well, I
was.
know, a lot. Part of the season takes place in like Salem, Massachusetts, in like the 1600s. I don't know if that's before or after, or if it's all just Massachusetts, but they just have a bit of a British twang to them.
No, I don't think it is. I think they are from the UK, the two of them. Because
That would
then
make sense.
they come over here, they get separated when they have the big fight, and blah blah blah. The thing is, Mildred kind of is like that whole catalyst for Susie's like demeanor as a whole,
Hmm. Hmm.
and is a big part of the reason why both physically and mentally Susie never grew up, and that is a part of her entire story. She never grew up. She did one like bad thing to hurt the person that she cared about the most, and that
Hmm.
really kickstarts the whole thing. And that is Mildred. And they left Mildred a pretty big mystery up until like the middle of season 6, the last season, where we actually got to see from her perspective what happened after Susie left. Um, and that stuff was all fantastic in my opinion. Her trying to, or her getting rid of her magic, quote unquote, which in turn got rid
Hmm.
of her memories or made her memories
Hmm.
really messed up. And then her still going to the island when a witch is beckoned for, albeit she was tricked a little bit by her little ghost companion to do so. But she goes back to the island, and then her memories are restored, and she's like that final piece of the puzzle, because Susie is in that whole ritual where she's being turned to stone because she can't figure out what she's supposed to be doing in the.
I do really like that like whole like Susie kind of going back to that and doing this whole thing back in the past. I do really like when I think of like how they treated all the characters like narratively, like I think it's all really well done. Like how you say, like Mildred like is the catalyst for how Susie acts. Like Susie doesn't really grow up both physically and kind of mentally slash emotionally. But because of that, we get, this really unique character like this. I almost wish there was a little more with Ramona in the end because like I think like watching season one, I was just like, I want to know like who this is and why she's there and all of that. And we get to know, but I do like how much it focused on Susie's development rather than, some of the other characters. But no, I think like your points about the ending are really are really nice and eye-opening to me. I think I have a little more of an appreciation for Mildred. I don't I want to say I dislike her. Part of me almost feels like Susie wasn't. I'm almost like I almost wish Susie did something a little worse in a way, like to like make you really like feel for her more. I don't know. Like I was like, she said something mean to Mildred, and then Mildred, destroyed half the world. Yeah, but like I don't know. I don't know. I
Well, that's the beauty in the simplicity. There's beauty in simplicity, I'd say, and I think that's really what they were going for with that ending. You know what I
I
mean?
I would say so. Like when they have like the magic go back to the rest of the world. I think I saw a shirt that had like the mushroom on it growing out at the end that just says I forgot what he says. He says like Does he say like, "Oh hey, what's this?" or something like that? Like the little mushroom that grows out the
Oh
ground.
geez, I don't
I,
remember. That was a
I,
cool thing at the end though.
Pew, pew, pew. Pew. Oh my gosh, hi.
But I want to stay on that point that you
Mhm,
made with what Susie did
mhm.
to Mildred. I think that that whole buildup made so much sense for Susie with the tornado on her neck because she was all worried about like, okay, I'm here to face everything that's bothering me and everything that I've done wrong, and she just thinks of hundreds of years of things that she messed up. And then it just turns out to be this one simple
Just a
little
day.
time, she just one day, and when she said that it was just one day, I was
Hmm.
like, my jaw dropped. I was like, no way, that is fantastic, that's perfect, that's so much more satisfying than if it was just I'm Susie and I'm going to face all of my sins
Hmm.
now.
Hmm. And
It's
I think
just
that's really real in a way too, you know, like
it is extremely real, and that's why it shook me up so much because I wasn't expecting to get hit with something so just like so real and impactful. And they just did it
especially at that age too,
wonderful.
you know, like and it's like when you really think like, you know, it's early like mid teenagers, you know, and it's like when I was 15, I'm sure there's one thing like that. It's not a million things. It's one thing, one or two like things that you regret like that. It's just like I do think the show had some really nice moments like that.
I try to really stay up to date on my cartoons, like the new stuff that comes out. If it interests me or if people are talking about it, I at least try
Hmm.
to check it out. And for example, talking about cartoon communities being a little weird, even before My Adventures with Superman premiered, people were
Hmm.
like, "Oh, this is weird. I don't like how Lois looks. I don't like blah blah blah." And I was like, "Just watch it. Just watch the show." Just watch it and then talk about it. And then you know what? Some people watched it and then they were like, I don't like how quick their relationship started. I'm like, okay, well, obviously they want to tackle other stuff. Just watch the rest. There's 10 episodes out. Like, just shut up about it. It's gonna come together. And you know what? If you've watched the first season, it's 10 episodes,
Hmm.
not a big commitment, and you don't like
Hmm.
it after that, you don't have to watch it anymore. You know,
I've only seen people say that they like her design or that like
I
I've
see
only
I
seen
see
people say they
every
like
angle.
her.
I love her design. I think she looks really cute.
I do
And you know what?
too.
I also think she looks and sounds a lot like Luce from Owl House, which
It,
is
it it is
definitely a little
insane.
uncanny, and especially a little uncanny that it's not the same voice actor because it actually they sound kind of similar. But
It doesn't
that
help that they
shows,
have damn near the same name too.
yeah. But
I
that show's
won.
been great, and it's just like if I just took the internet's like advice on it, and even with other shows in the past, like Steven Universe and stuff, if I just listened to the internet, I wouldn't be watching a great show, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
And that's like a thing of like as someone who like wants to potentially, you know, I as someone who wants to potentially create my own like animated, you know, show someday, whether it's on a small scale level, you know, just like even maybe even just kickstarting it someday in the future or something like that. It's like I think people always respect I think people always kind of say like creators almost shouldn't listen to their fans because like there's so many things that's like there's so many things like that or like even in like the first episode of uh My Adventures with Superman, Superman wakes up and he breaks his alarm clock and people are like there was like a big tweet going around where someone was like this is so unrealistic. You're telling me Superman's had his powers for like 10 years and he's still breaking his alarm clock in the morning and it's like yeah, that's a good point, but like he's Superman. I don't know. You want to show that he's
yeah.
Superman right away and he's gonna break his alarm clock because he has powers that he can't control. I don't
Well,
know. Like
the thing is, some people don't realize that it's like writers writing the show, and the writers need to show you something, you know.
hmm.
And that's just
Hmm.
that's like very early into the show. That's a big jump. Like, okay, this is Superman, this is how strong he is. Nobody could do that to an alarm clock just immediately, but he's still living this regular life. So, but regardless, back to Summer Camp Island.
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
I like a lot of cartoons, so it's really easy to talk about them.
Do you have any characters that stand out to you besides Susie, I guess, that we've talked about? Is there any other characters that you maybe appreciate or don't think got their proper time?
I think that, like you were saying earlier, in the very beginning of the show, Hedgehog is the real standout, I think. She's just great. She has her whole arc of becoming a werewolf and becoming a witch. And all of that is just fantastic. And Oscar, although he is supposed to be the main character, I think the two of them are, but he's like the main character. We start the show with him and everything.
He's definitely the mascot, at least. I would say he's the main character. Like,
Yeah.
if you're searching for the show on the app, it's a picture of him, which maybe isn't the most fair assessment for who's a main character, but like, I would say it's him. I would say it's him.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like he a lot of the time plays the supporting role to Hedgehog and to other characters as well. He kind of falls into that role of like, I'm the main character, I'm with the side character doing the side characters thing. And that's not always how it goes, but definitely I feel like he can sometimes fade a little bit into the background like that. But then, you know, the writers really know what they want him to be doing, and so once you start feeling like that, they kind of are just like, well, here's his personality, here's his jokes, and he's back.
And he plays the role of like a kind protagonist, like a kind, helpful protagonist that does kind of like, since I'm kind of like a character like Hey Arnold, for example, you know, where it's like a lot of the show is about the other characters and just their interactions, and he often kind of takes a back seat because of that. Is more of like a supporter. But no, like I think they really nailed it with the characters' personalities and stuff.
And that pretty much wraps up our thoughts on Summer Camp Island. It's a really special show, and I'm so glad it was able to air despite its network and production issues. I'd love to know what you think of this video and format in the comments below. If you'd like to see videos like this every now and then, or more often, or not at all, and your thoughts on Summer Camp Island or what you'd like to see in the future. Thanks for watching, and have a good one. Bye.